Hi, I'm Pav.
And I'm Neil.
And welcome to the Top 10 of Anything podcast.
Let's start the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, a movie can have a great story, great script, great direction, and great actors. But the one layer of movie making that arguably gets taken for granted is the soundtrack. Whether it's an original piece of score or a perfectly chosen song of the past, the movie score can make a good movie into a classic movie. Here's our own sweet score Neil with 10 movie score facts.
Thank you very much, Pav. So, maestros Williams and Morricone are two of the very few composers who physically write out their scores when composing film music. Most of the remainder use computers. To heighten the scare factor, the soundtrack to The Exorcist contains both squealing pigs and angry bees. Girl. There is no music in the soundtrack to the film The Birds.
Hang on.
The bagpipes used in the film soundtrack of Braveheart are actually Irish Julian pipes. Jerry Goldsmith's Chinatown score was written and recorded in just 10 days. John Williams has recorded the most film scores with over 450 soundtrack credits. 1992's The Bodyguard is the best-selling soundtrack with more than 44 million copies.
How iconic.
Choose life.
Camille Saint-Saëns' 1908 score for L'Assistant Duc de Guise, I'm sure that's pronounced right, was the first original film score composed.
Go with a smile.
And for the iconic and groundbreaking music for Planet of the Apes, it featured pots and pans in the orchestra. And the lobby of Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum on the boardwalk of Atlantic City plays the Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure soundtrack all day, every day. It's got to be something in the water tonight. Keep spluttering our words, won't we? You had a go, I had a go. Oh.
Well, we're lucky that we've got a professional podcaster with us as a guest who can put us all to shame. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to join in with Neil to welcome the lovely Paul from the SP Filmviewers podcast. Hello, Paul.
Good evening.
And how are you?
Very well, thank you. I'm very excited to be talking about film soundtracks because that is one of my passions, as well as the movies. It's all about the music as well.
Excellent. Well, that's good. Now we're going to see if we can get through the next hour or so without making any cock-ups like we did before.
Oh, we're bound to say something, right?
And normally, proper professional podcasters would have stopped and started again and maybe, do a few edits, but we don't do, the least amount of work as possible. So we just want to just get on and do it.
That's fine, yeah.
Or we just like to keep it human.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Indeed. Yeah. Now, one thing we've got to stipulate is top 10 movie soundtracks, but this also includes movie scores as well. So, yes, we probably could have got another top 10 out of it if we'd have split them. But, again, it's too much work. Let's just do it all in one go.
It's nice to do it in one go because it was nice to combine the two anyway.
Yeah, I looking at a lot of mine was actually more scores than there were actual musical soundtracks. So it kind of worked in my favour, really, I suppose.
Yeah, I will try and just to give a little bit more flavour, I will play a little bit in the background as well if I get a chance, if I'm quick enough. Before we do that though, Paul, tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, so my podcast is called SP Filmviewers. I run it with my co-host Sophie, who I am kind of introducing classic films or films that I like, or just want to get a reaction from her, and put her through some films and give her like her honest thoughts and feelings about the film, because I feel like she's quite passionate about when she's speaking and explaining things, and it's always quite amusing when I'm trying to be like really like, oh, do you see it from this perspective? And then she's like, no, I don't get why that's why it's done that way and stuff. Why didn't they just do this? And it always makes for an interesting conversation.
I was
sorry.
going to say I listened to the Snatch episode today,
Yeah.
and it is if you're into films and you know the movie, like you're trying to just I was trying to sort of egg Sophie on, because especially at the start when she hasn't seen the film yet.
Yeah.
I think it's quite an interesting way that you see what she's like before the film, she wants to, and then afterwards it's her whole idea of what the movie is about from her point of view.
Exactly. Yeah, and then it's also now the format is also we do like an on-off thing of where it's we both haven't seen a film, because obviously there's a lot in the back catalogue of films I haven't seen yet myself, and it's like to fit in with the schedule of stuff. It's like a good experience for both of us, and then it's kind of like sometimes it's at the moment it's been more misses than hits, but it's I don't know if that's down to my picking or what, but yeah.
So I was going to say, give us some examples of the movies you've done with Sophie for the listeners.
Yeah, so we've done films like Reservoir Dogs. That was like one of our first proper ones we did. We've done like Back to the Future, The Matrix, Singing in the Rain. That's one of her favourites from like the ones we've ever done. Grand Budapest Hotel, things like that, all kind of sorts of genres. So although she doesn't particularly like horror or anything to do with monsters, so or comedies, in fact. So yeah.
So what horror are you giving her then? You must have given her some if she doesn't like them.
Yeah. So we've gone through stuff like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Blair Witch Project, ones that we've kind of covered. I think that was really last year, and more modern ones like The Babadook. Have you seen that film?
Yeah, great film.
Yeah. So things like that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'll put the link in the show notes so people can have a little listen to your podcast. It was it was very and please give our love to Sophie as well. Right, but let's crack on. So, Paul, we need your number 10 movie soundtrack, please.
So, my number 10 is of a film that is probably my favorite film, which is kind of strange coming from where we're coming from with this, but the soundtrack is, I feel like you need the film to fully embrace it. So that is The Shining.
Okay.
So we got was it Wendy Carlos and Rachel Elkind, I believe, who did the collaboration of the composing for that. And so like with the opening theme, that's like sets a tone straight away for the film, and that's just like you know what you're getting for, this chilling epic, like what's going to happen here in the film. You get the chills really. So then like with the what we've got with the more like the 1920s style, like Midnight, the Stars and You, is that like the what really works as like a standalone piece. Like, oh, you could put those in the background, that wouldn't be fine, but it's down to the actual like scary incidental music that occurs through the film. That's kind of like I wouldn't really like rushing to put that on like the turntable and like let's vibe out to that. So that's why it's so low on the list, but I can appreciate it for watching it during watch for the film.
Well, it's haunting, isn't it? It's haunting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very haunting. Having a quick listen now. I've seen the film 100 times, and then you say the soundtrack, and I'm like trying to remember it. But now I'm listening to it. It comes straight back to you, doesn't it? It floods back.
Yeah.
But again, isn't that, I was saying like in the introduction about the thing that you take for granted is the music a little bit.
Exactly.
But then if the music isn't there, if you watch the film without the music, I don't think you feel the same emotions.
No, it heightens it. Yeah, especially with that film, because it's all like intense and just scary atmosphere. Yeah.
Great choice.
Great one to start. There you go, then, Neil. What are you going to go for number 10?
So I'm going. Well, I spoke about him in the in my facts at the beginning. It's Morricone's score to Once Upon a Time in America. Especially Deborah's theme is just I find this piece of music beautiful. I know Once Upon a Time in the West is a beautiful soundtrack, but it's not one that I would tend to put on in background while I'm doing my day-to-day chores. This one is. I do listen to this quite a lot. And again, it's not haunting in the sense of like scary haunting. It's moving haunting. I don't know whether either of you have seen this movie, and if you have, which version, because it goes on for about 3.5, 4 hours, this movie.
Yeah, I think I remember it being on, I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but I realised it was like, going on 4 hours and thinking, geez, right, I'm going to have to break this up into bits, but I don't think sadly haven't had the time to sit down and go through it in bit by bit, but I don't quite remember the soundtrack so strongly, but it's like a film that I've barely seen already.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is that Elizabeth McGovern?
She's in it, yeah.
No, is that the one where you see a butthole?
Yeah.
Do you know you're supposed to see a butthole in that
well,
movie?
they do say you can. I haven't really examined it with fine-tooth combs.
I'm just saying it's one of those things with those like
moments. Yeah.
Those are they real moments that you often see.
But yeah, it's got a great cast in it. Obviously, Robert De Niro, not Joe Pesci at all. James Woods is in it. Treat Williams is actually. Do you remember Treat Williams?
Treat Williams.
Yeah, but it's a really young Jennifer Connelly.
Right.
Very young Jennifer Connelly in it, and it's a sprawling epic. It goes right from their childhood when they're young boys all the way through. I mean, it doesn't do it chronologically. But it's a movie you can watch in sections. Don't feel that you have to sit in one go and do. Yeah. But I love the movie. I think it's an absolutely fantastic movie. Really do.
And I apologise. I mean, that was a beautiful bit of music there, and I'm bringing it down to Elizabeth McGovern's butthole. I'm really sorry about that.
But it wasn't associated with that theme. That was part. If you look at the score soundtrack, the incidental, it says butthole. That's
the butthole theme. Yeah, the butthole theme. Okay, and for a second then, when you said Once Upon a Time in America, I thought it was a Tarantino movie. But obviously, that's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, isn't it?
Yeah, which is why he called Once Upon a Time to be in with the Leone movies.
Right.
But I would also recommend listening to Once Upon a Time in the West if you've never heard that. I mean, you would have heard the iconic theme, but that's another one. But I think Once Upon a Time in America is a lot stronger.
Fair enough. My number 10 was one that I've literally, about 10 minutes before I first started talking to Neil, slipped into my top 10 because I'd completely forgotten about it until somebody mentioned it in the honorable mentions. And it's this one. I can remember watching this movie, and it was one of those things that I want to be a DJ, because like Robin Williams was it was like quintessential Robin Williams, like fast talking, fast paced, just like so funny. But the music it's the first one we've had so far that isn't a score. It's just a collection of 60s songs that were like, some of them are like, I use the I word, iconic Vietnam theme songs, if you like. But Nowhere to Run, Martha Reeve and the Vandellas, I Get Around, the Beach Boys, Game of Love, Wayne Fontana. There's just some fantastic songs in there. And I had that soundtrack on tape, I think it was, and I played it to absolute death. Not just, but the beauty of it is, which I think is a good soundtrack, is it has audio from the movie, so it has all the Adrian Cronauer bits sort of dotted in. Good. And it's a fantastic, and it's been a long time since I've heard the album, but I was listening to it before we got online with Neil, and I thought, God, I need to listen to this album more. It is just a fantastic collection of songs, but obviously they fit really well into the narrative of the movie as well, which I think some soundtracks will just try and find a good collection of songs and let's stick this one on a jukebox in the background because it's then on the soundtrack. Whereas these are part of, like, I'm sure I never went to Vietnam, obviously, but a lot of Vietnam movies seem to have the same kind of soundtrack songs, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so they almost you get the feel of Vietnam from those songs. Yeah,
of that period almost. Yeah,
exactly.
Like what's popular. Yeah.
Exactly. But I would thoroughly recommend anybody, and finishes with "What a Wonderful World" by Louis Armstrong. So.
Love that song.
Definitely recommend that one. Okay, then, Paul, your number 9.
So my number 9 is The Dark Knight by Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just so epic, and it was like, obviously when I remember the experience of going to the cinema for that. It was like the first time in a long while when I was younger when it came out, and it was like people actually queuing to go in to see the film. I think, oh, this is going to be a real treat to go and see this film, and there's so much hype about it, and it was just, obviously it was like IMAX cameras and everything, all the booming sound and everything, and it was like the which starts with Why So Serious, obviously the opening bit, and then it leads, and on the soundtrack it leads into I'm Not a Hero, and it's just such a strong build, and just builds, grows and grows. And when you listen to the headphones especially, it kind of does that reverb like left to right channel as well, and part of it, and it just sounds really epic. And then like a Dog Chasing Cars, the one that's probably the most like memorable of the film. It kind of like when I think it's more like at the end of the film when Batman's riding on the motorcycle almost near to the end credits. It kind of fits into that, and it's just like, oh, this is so awesome, and just gives you the feels. And every time I listen to it, I just taken back to seeing the film then, and just blown away. And it's every time it kind of gives you goosebumps.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of, it was with your brother, Pav. We went to a 4 a.m. showing in London at the big IMAX at Waterloo for the Dark Knight. I know, crazy. But that's the one thing I remember really well. Obviously, the imagery and the visuals that they filmed on the IMAX camera, but the soundtrack, when it boomed out, to me, I started to think of Batman straight away over Danny Elfman's Batman a little bit now. Because that became associated to me. I mean, obviously we had the TV series Batman 66 as a kid. That was the Batman theme, but that then became the Batman theme, and I think the Dark Knight one is slowly eking out the Danny Elfman. There you go. Controversial to some.
Controversial, Neil. Controversial. Paul, where do you stand on what was number 3, Dark Knight Rises?
I didn't mind that so much. It's been a while since I've actually seen it, to be honest. So all I kind of remember is, Tom Hardy doing the Bane voice, but mostly. But I don't think it was that bad from what I can recall. So I think it's due a rewatch. But obviously, the Dark Knight with Heath Ledger playing the Joker is just such a iconic role, and just plays me from that.
I was wondering because I've seen, I think, Dark Knight Rises probably 4 or 5 times, and like every time I watch it I get more angry because of the plot holes. And I don't know, has there ever been a movie, like, obviously that's my personal opinion, but where the Dark Knight is up there as one of the greatest movies ever made? Has there ever been such a drop off between like a movie and then the next one in the series?
Yeah,
because for me it's a massive drop off. It really ruins the whole trilogy, what could be a perfect trilogy.
Yeah,
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, but then the Last Jedi sort of from
I don't
Force
really.
Awakens.
They're all kind of
Yeah.
It's like a staircase.
But to me,
that's like a staircase. They just
I know, but to me, the difference between the Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker is
they're all vastly different.
It's vast.
I don't think it's as vast as Dark Knight. And
well, no.
But that's again my opinion. It'd be interesting, Paul, if you watched it again, what you would think of it. It's just there are just certain moments in it you think, well, that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And let's not go into the whole plot holes of
but great set pieces in it.
Oh, I'm not saying there isn't great set pieces. It's just that when you watch it, like the first time you watch it, you'll enjoy the spectacle of the movie. If you watch it again and again, you sort of think, well, that bit doesn't quite make sense. And what if he's doing that? Why is that like that? And then you start questioning yourself instead of watching the movie, which then is a bad sign to how a movie is made. There you go. Made loads of money, so what do I know? Go on then, Neil, you're number 9.
So again, I surprised myself with how low down it is on the list, but when I compare it to what else I've got on there, it's probably why. Pulp Fiction.
Of course.
It's got great songs. It's a typical Tarantino interspersed with dialogue from the movie. Great opening track, because it's got the Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer bit. Opens the whole soundtrack. Great songs. They even had a hit off of it, didn't they? I can't remember the name of the band now. Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. I remember seeing it on Top of the Pops. There you go.
What, they were there on Top of the Pops?
The band was, yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, playing it. But it's Tarantino is probably now one of the greatest guys at putting music to movies, songs to movies, to scenes.
Yeah.
And then again banding around the I would, and then making those scenes because of the songs really iconic. And it's got a load in Pulp Fiction. I don't know, did you buy the CD or back in the day when it came out? Because it was CDs then. We didn't have streaming in '94.
I didn't, to be perfectly honest. I had the poster, which I'm pretty sure majority of people had the poster, but I didn't buy the.
No, it's a good soundtrack.
I've got the soundtrack on vinyl. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Oh,
that's more recent though. But yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. The songs in that again, like particular scenes, like you think to the when they're at Jack Rabbit Slims and they're doing the
Chuck Berry, isn't it?
Chuck Berry. There we go. Sorry, yeah, the blanking there.
Yeah.
but that's the thing. He's got a gift of choosing songs, and even really well-known songs, and making them more. I think we're going to say iconic a lot in this podcast.
Well, it does, because it makes the scene, doesn't it? If that's what we're talking about, music, you forget it's there. But if you were to watch certain scenes, I mean, well, totally different film. But if you were to think of Jaws without that iconic music, it wouldn't be the same without it.
Yeah.
So,
but the other thing is, he'll also take an iconic song, say like "Stuck in the Middle with You," which was a massive hit before Reservoir Dogs. You play that to pretty much anybody now, and all they'll think of is the ear cutting scene in Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
It's not about the history of the song. It's about that's what it brings into your mind. Or Little Green Bag.
Yeah.
You'll think
down
of
the street.
Yeah, that's exactly what you'll think of, and that's one of Tarantino's gifts. I think is the way that he can take something and he can make you think of the movie instead of the song. If that makes sense. Good one, Neil. Have you got the soundtrack, Neil? Have you?
Yeah. I've got it on CD. I bought it when I first saw the movie. Like I've bought a lot of his soundtracks, to be fair.
Okay, fair enough. My number 9 is pretty much similar. Is similar to Good Morning Vietnam in the fact that it's from one of my favorite movies. It's Forrest Gump.
Okay.
And this one is great because it goes through the life of Forrest Gump from a little boy when when Elvis comes and stays at his house. So you got Hound Dog going right through to like Vietnam. So I think it may have a couple of the songs that are also on the Good Morning Vietnam, but I Don't Know What to Do with Myself, Rebel Rouser, Fortunate Son, Respect, Aretha Franklin. There's some just great songs, but it's also got a couple of nice little bits. Again, Beach Boys, Bob Dylan, everything from the 60s that you want. Mrs. Robinson, San Francisco, Be Sure to Wear Flowers in Your Hair. Oh dear. Turn, Turn, Turn. Oh, there's just so many things, but also it's got some nice parts of the soundtrack as in the score as well, which is great. But then it's all very 60s. You like Forrest Gump, Neil, don't you?
I love Forrest Gump.
Yeah,
I've actually
Paul?
grown to appreciate it even more.
Really?
The older I'm getting, yeah.
Yeah, it's I do enjoy the film. I remember very much blubbering my eyes out near the end, but I'm a bit skeptical as to whether Sophie should see it because she's like, I don't want to cry. It's going to make me sad. I don't want to see it. So I feel it's something that we should cover at some point. But
absolutely, because it's a movie that's not just it is sad, obviously, but it's also like really funny in places. It's
full of joy as well.
It's got everything. It's got everything. You absolutely fall in love with Forrest Gump, the character. Tom Hanks is fantastic in it.
Yeah.
I think during the top 10 movie villains, I had Jenny as my number 2 movie villain. I think she's terrible. I think she's a horrible person. But there you go.
Yeah.
Listen to that episode if you want to get my full feelings on that. Okay, then, Paul, your number 8, please.
My number 8. My number 8 is more of a recent one, actually. We covered this film as part of our podcast, and kind of got rekindled in love with the soundtrack, and it is Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, brilliant!
So it's got the whole like R&B soul vibe to it as well, with the lead three ladies doing the backing vocals and stuff, and then the cast do a fantastic job as well, singing the songs and everything, and you feel there's so much emotion in it as well, like in Somewhere That's Green. That kind of gives me like the happy vibes of, like, even though it's like very soulful and gets to the core of everything, and it just makes me feel that's great. And then Levy Stubbs from the Four Tops in the voice of Audrey too, and those are my favourites, like Feed Me and Mean Green Mother from Outer Space. They're just those songs, and they're songs that you can pick out and just listen to them on their own. You don't need the film to enjoy them as such, because again, they're just so strong on their own. You can they can give you some lift.
Great soul songs
exactly.
on that soundtrack. Absolutely, I forgot about that one.
And even Steve Martin's little cameo,
the dentist. That's so funny.
That's a great song.
A great one. Did you ever see the like the behind the scenes of how they did Audrey 2? It's fascinating that they shot it in like half speed.
Yeah.
So Rick Moranis had to do all the movements in like slow motion, like actual slow motion, and then they sped it up.
Yeah, because it was like a Jim Henson puppet thing.
Yeah,
so
there was like 5 or 6 people all doing Audrey 2, and they had to do it really slow, and then they sped the film up to normal speed. It's fascinating. If I can find that bit of footage, I'll put it in the Patreon video playlist, because it is fascinating. You don't even realise that when they're doing it. It must have been an absolute ball ache to make the movie, but it's a great soundtrack right from the very first song, the Skid Row song.
Yeah. Have you seen the director's cut of the film? Because that's oh wow, because that's what kind of turned me around on like making that my score a 10 for that film, because in the director's cut, which they originally showed to a test audience, they were like, no, we can't have the plants taking over the world, because that's what kind of happens at the end of that one when they first showed it to people, and they said, no, we want a happy ending, so that Audrey and Seymour go, skip off into the sunset, basically, in the theatrical cut, I suppose. And then the other one. So there's a lot more of the Audrey 2's like taking over New York and everything. These big massive sets of things, so like a kaiju film, basically.
Wow.
So that's like just the ending I like, and that's won it for me. So.
Yeah, they sort of imply it in the original cut, don't they? Because when they're walking up the garden path with their white picket fences and that, it zooms down and there's a Diddy Audrey in their garden, isn't there? Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, suddenly Seymour.
Yeah, I know. Great. That's a great one. Very good. Okay, then, Neil, you're number 8.
So this movie, a lot of people I know haven't seen it. I love the movie. It's very much a 90s movie. It's Empire Records. In the cast, you've got Renée Zellweger, you've got I can't think of his name now, but anyway, there's a great cast of up and coming. Liv Tyler's in it, but the music is very, very eclectic in it. You might go from Gwar, which is a really heavy metal band, through through to Dire Straits and Romeo and Juliet, and you've got Video Killed the Radio Star, and then all these songs are put in there in their exploits. So the story is, they all work in this record store called Empire Records. The guy that's locking up the night before decides on a whim to take all the take-ins and put it on a bet, loses all the money. Then a corporation wants to come in and buy the store, and they need to get the money back to stop it being bought. And how do they do that? It's just a great soundtrack. Like I say, it's very, very eclectic, but it's very listenable. And I don't know whether you guys have seen this movie, have you?
No.
I've heard the name of it, but I've never ever looked in to see what it's about or anything, to be perfectly honest.
Right. It's great. It's a great fun film. It's a lot of fun in there. And like I say, it is of its time, and it's very 90s, but that's my generation. I don't feel it's dated. But I really do love it. And the whole bit, they've got what they call Rex Manning Day, always makes me laugh. I won't go into too much of that, but that's funny. Just Rex Manning and blue cheese sauce. That's all.
Who's Rex Manning?
He's a bit of a washed up singer who was a celeb sort of before he got to this, probably a decade before, and they have him to do a store signing for his new single. And it became a bit of a catchphrase, don't be sad today. It's Rex Manning Day.
I've never heard of that before.
Have you not? You can get T-shirts with it on and all sorts. Yeah.
I've never even heard the name Rex Manning. Should I have heard the name Rex Manning?
No, probably not if you've not seen the movie. I mean, like I say, the movie is of its time, and a lot of people, probably not seen it now. It wasn't even that successful back then. But Renée Zellweger in it, and if you don't fall in love with her, she was gorgeous in that one.
Okay, that's fair enough. So my number 8 is a movie that's probably my top 10 movies of all time, and it's called Field of Dreams. I had this soundtrack, and I played this to death because it's a little bit like Braveheart in the fact that the main theme is one of the most beautiful pieces of music I think I've ever heard in my life. I just tried to look at it on Apple Music, and I can't find the soundtrack on there at all, so I'm a bit gutted. But I think, this is the theme, but we're not going to have time to get to the actual crescendo of the spoilers. Dad, do you want to have a catch moment where the music is playing and swirling around? But it is beautiful. It goes, I think, apart from the obvious movies that I think are perfect, which you can see by my decor in my studio, this is probably one of the most perfect movies I think I've ever seen in my life. And if we ever do our top 10 of perfect movies, Neil, which I'm sure we will at one time, I'm telling you now, this will be in it and will be near the top of the music. It's one of those movies when you tell somebody what the movie is about, like, a guy digs up his crops so that a load of dead baseball players can come and play on a baseball field. You go, what? That sounds ridiculous. But when you watch it, God, it gets you in the feels. It gets you in the feels so many times, and the end just absolutely just is beautiful and magical. And it's Kevin Costner just at his absolute best.
Who did the score?
James Horner did the score.
It was James Horner.
Good.
Yeah, and it's I don't want to say too much about the movie because I will talk about it when we do our top 10 perfect movies
one day. But that frightens me, trying to pick top 10 perfect movies.
Well, that, to be fair, you could do a whole podcast every week of your top 10 perfect movies and have a different one every week, can't you? Yeah. You just can. Have you seen Field of Dreams, Paul?
No, I've got to say...
What the hell is going on?
Is it... Because obviously I think it's like, it's a sports film. I'm not big on sports, so it's like, is it one of those things that you wouldn't need to know a great deal about?
No,
it's baseball.
No.
I presume?
It's baseball. It's not. It's not. I mean, look again. If we did top 10 sports films, which I'm sure we will, again, it may well be just because it's got baseball as a theme.
Yes,
but it's more about family, and it's more about fathers and sons, and
loss, maybe,
and loss. It's not the sort of thing where you need to know how many run outs they have. I don't know. Is that what I call it in baseball?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that's just been under the radar, really, for me. There's other things I'll check out before that one, but it sounds interesting.
I would say
it's an emotional ride. Then it would
be a perfect episode for you and Sophie to do because Sophie may cry, and
so may you, Paul.
and maybe I will too. Yeah,
you can blame us. You can blame us for it then. But every single time I watch it, I cry. Every single time.
I need to watch it again. It's been a long time since I've watched it, and I need to watch it again. It is a beautiful film, Paul. There's no two ways about it. It's just such a lovely film.
And
really
Kevin Costner has got the hair. I would love to have his hairstyle, even though it's an 80s, late 80s, early 90s hairstyle. Oh my God, he is an absolute. He's a dreamboat in that movie. But listen to that. I mean, it's just beautiful. Oh, God, I can feel my bottom lip trembling already. Okay. Paul, your number 7 then, please.
Yep. So it's going to be the first animated film on the list. Soundtrack. And it is a Studio Ghibli film. And it is My Neighbor Totoro.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've only ever seen this one, so I don't recall the soundtrack at all.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's probably like you say, if you're watching the film, you kind of pick it up as you're going through the film because it's quite like an easygoing film anyway. So, and the storyline isn't a great deal going on for it. It's quite like a simple beats, and so there's no like big threats or anything like that. It's nothing major, but it's just such a nice, relaxing film, and the film kind of reflects that in a way, which is quite nice as well, because it's kind of like upbeat, like like moments, and then it's kind of like a slow, like flute or piano pieces through it, and it's just really nice and relaxing. And I've got a soft spot for anime, and we went to the when me and Sophie went to Japan, we went to the Studio Ghibli Museum, and that kind obviously seeing all the stuff in there, it was just fantastic. It was like a kid in a toy shop, really. Like looking at all this amazing stuff, and like what's inspired me from doing animation and stuff. It's fantastic, and this film is just something an easy one to put on, and the music I just like to put on whenever, really, is with a nice calming vibe to it.
I have to say, I'm an absolute novice when it comes to Studio Ghibli. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, before it was Ghibli, but I think it learned it's that they pronounce it as Ghibli, so it's either or. It's not wrong either way, really. But
yeah, but so many people I know that have seen Spirited Away is another one. I think
Spirited Away,
such a good movie.
Is that you should just watch them all, because they are all just like fascinating and fantastic.
Yeah.
So I need to do that.
Graveyard of the Flies.
Yeah, Graveyard of the Fireflies. Yeah, that's the saddest one, but
that's harrowing for a cartoon.
Yeah.
And God, Neil, you've seen a lot of harrowing stuff. So I mean,
no, that is, it really is. So, but they're all sort of beautifully drawn, beautifully animated.
Yeah.
But start with something like, I don't know, Spirited Away would be a good start.
That's a good mainstream benchmark. Yeah, and then probably Totoro as well is probably a good one as well to get into. Yeah.
Okay, Neil, your number 7, please.
Oh, brother, where art thou?
Yeah, this was close to mine. It was.
Yeah. What more can I say? It's a great movie. George Clooney's one of his funniest roles.
Yeah.
We're in a tight spot. But the music, it's was it bluegrass? Is it back in the 1920s? Just it is really integral to the plot. But right down to they've got beautiful music as well. That whole christening, is it christening? What, baptism scene?
Baptism, yeah.
And Down by the River, it's such a beautiful song. I mean, I don't know whether it's old or not. I've got the soundtrack myself on CD still, and it's one that I still put. I've got a few of the songs on my playlist, but Soggy Bottom Boys, the songs there, it's just catchy. Is it Rick Rubin did it? I believe.
I think it was, yes.
Yeah. So it's well produced. It's well. I mean, when you watch the movie, they did it that well. I genuinely thought George Clooney had sung that song. I know it was only later that I found out that he didn't. But have you ever seen this movie, Coen Brothers movie, Paul?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I remember. I was like the Soggy Bottom Boys with the Man of Constant Sorrow. That's what I think of that when someone says that the title of the film. That's what I immediately go to of that from that soundtrack in particular. When they're doing obviously the recording and the iterations they do later on as well. Yeah, I love it. I love it. But, yeah.
It's a really catchy songs, and
it's
sort of timeless, aren't they? Again,
and George Clooney is about as close to Clark Gable in that movie as I think he could ever be.
But funnier.
but funnier. Yeah, I actually watched From Dusk Till Dawn for the first time in ages.
Great movie.
Friday night. I really enjoyed it. God, I haven't seen it for so long, and I don't think I put it in my top 10 horror movies, and I can't understand why I never.
Because it's almost not like a horror movie.
Yeah, it's like two halves, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got the gangster movie into a horror movie. I don't know,
but it is
what genre you'd put it in.
Batshit shit crazy, but it's just like, again, George Clooney is just fantastic in it. Everybody's fantastic in it. I don't know why I'm talking about that, because you're talking about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Sorry.
Yeah, we digress, but
we do digress as always. Yes.
But the Coens are quite good with their music, aren't they? They're a bit almost like Tarantino. They find the right music for the right film or scene, and they got it to perfection, to me. Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, completely agree. Another person that is very good at fitting music to movies, and is my number 7. I've cheated a little bit. I've got a volume 1 and a volume 2 of this, but it's Guardians of the Galaxy. It's James Gunn. I think he's fantastic at picking songs. I remember watching the trailer for the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and this came on. I thought it was just absolutely, it fitted the tone of the movie absolutely perfectly, and the choice of songs in both of Volume 1 and Volume 2. The start of Volume 2 with Mr. Blue Sky and Groot like dancing while everybody else is is absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. And I bought both, and also the whole idea that these are on a mixtape that Peter Quill's mum gave to him is great as well, because then it gives a little bit of context to the songs and why the songs are on, on both cassettes, if you like. But some really good songs, and also it's some of them are songs that I had never heard of before, like Moon Age Daydream, which is a Bowie song I'd never heard before. Wham Bam Shangalang, that's a great name for a song, that, isn't it? What was the one? Oh, the Pina Colada song, which I've heard that one before. I love that song, but it's just the way that he puts his visions to those bits of music. Perfect. I think he is just as good as Quentin Tarantino in picking songs to go in specific parts of his movie. Thoughts, Paul?
Yeah, no, I have to completely agree with you on that, because I've got the I did have the CD initially for both of them, and then I got upgraded and got them on vinyl as well. So I do spin those tracks, and they're just so eclectic with what they've got on there. And I do like like rock and roll type of thing, because from my dad as well. He likes that kind of music, obviously. So it's picking up from that. And then again, you got like things that I've never even heard of before, like was it Come and Get Your Love by Redbone? And I love that song. It's so great. It's so catchy, and it just, again, like when the credits come up in the first film and just like doom right there when he's dancing around, it's just it's fantastic. And then again, you pick up moments from that film as well, and both of them, in fact, where I remember, like, say, Groot dancing at the beginning with Mr. Blue Sky and everything, and it's what you kind of think to when you think back to listen to those songs. So
yeah. Neil?
Well, I couldn't add much more to what Paul said, really. I concur with everything he's just said. I mean, it is, oh God, we're going to use it again. It's become iconic, hasn't it? Come and Get Your Love you associate it straight with Guardians of the Galaxy, the soundtrack you hear, Guardians of the Galaxy. The song you just played, I would associate it probably more with another soundtrack still, but I'll explain why later on in the list.
Okay, that's fair enough. I won't play it again then, though. We'll find something else.
Yeah.
Go on then, Paul. You're number 6.
My number 6, I've got something physical to, obviously, for the video, it'll make more sense, but I will say it also.
Oh, right.
Clockwork Orange.
Great soundtrack.
Well,
a lot of Beethoven, isn't it?
Yeah. So again, when I saw this in first time in like film studies, back in when I was in high school, we were discussing the film, and then it's kind of like that's where I kind of got my taste for classical music from. Obviously, not going out doing ultra violence or anything like that. I promise.
What about a bit of the innie outie?
Yeah. But no, I just like the score on that, and then obviously that merge between like electronic classical as well. It's like a weird combination like this. I've never heard anything like this. It sounds very alien almost. And just again, iconic things for like picking out scenes from that, like when they're walking along the canal, and Alex kind of like knocks his droogs into the water, and there's like the thieving magpie, I believe, that plays, and it's kind of that slow motion moment where that happens, and things like that. That's just really stand out for me. And again, you don't have to necessarily think of what the score is from that, because obviously there's classical music's been around for ages, but it kind of cemented some of with the Beethoven stuff, obviously, that was used in this film. Is when I listen back to it, it's like, oh yeah, I can relate from that. So and it's just nice to have again in the background.
It is. And then they intersperse it with a little ditty like I Want to Marry a Lighthouse Keeper suddenly in there, and things. Yeah, it's really bizarre, because obviously people who are film buffs will know the story that it wasn't banned, it was Kubrick that pulled the movie from Britain. And it took years. So I was in Holland in late 80s, early 90s, and they had it in the video shop, and it was region free back then. all I had to endure were these crappy little Dutch subtitles that went along the bottom. And I thought, I have to see this film. There's no other way I'm going to be able to get it. So I paid however many guilders it was back then, bought the movie, fell in love with it, played it to death, the movie over and over, and then bought the soundtrack myself. I think, who doesn't love a bit of Number 9 with a bit of ultra violence? But it's great music.
Made you the man you are today, didn't it, Neil?
It does, yeah. It really does. Except for my retinas haven't grown back.
Yeah, I think I've only seen that movie once.
Yeah, it's not obviously not an easy one to get through, to be fair. But I do enjoy coming back to the film like every so often, really. But it always sticks out with me. I forget. Obviously, the content is quite graphic, but it just stands in my mind really, and just see how well Kubrick works. And like Shining is the favourite of mine, so I'm a big fan of Kubrick's work.
Yeah, I went to sit on the big screen
really?
again in London. I went to watch it, and I had to, and it really holds up on the big screen. I highly recommend seeing it. But also, if you haven't done it, have you ever read the book? Because they talk about obviously Beethoven.
I tried to.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't got very far with it. I'm more obviously to do with visual things these days is more easier to digest than it is to read, unfortunately. But it's a bit of I need to go back to it, I think.
And it's all written in the Droog's language, it's all the way through. So it takes a while. It's a bit like Train Spotting, where if you've ever read that, there's hardly any punctuation in it, and it's all written in Scottish slang. But once you get your head into it and it starts flowing, you then read it as you would watch it. But I would highly recommend reading the book, because
a bit like Shakespeare, like trying to read Shakespeare. So after a while, you start getting into the rhythm of it. Yeah.
But recommend finishing.
There you go. A nice bit of light reading recommendation for you there.
Yeah,
reading something sort of in Scottish with no punctuation.
Yeah. Well, no, the Clockwork Orange isn't in Scottish and with no punctuation.
I know.
I mean, that's just written in the Droog's language. But it is a thin book. It's not very thick. Anthony Burgess didn't write a very thick book on it. So,
are there pictures, Neil?
No, only on the cover.
Then it's not my kind of book. Then I can't be doing with that if it's all words.
It's up in my bookcase there. I've got it, but I was actually given a copy that was probably from the late 60s. A friend of mine found it in their mum or something book and said, "Would you like this?" And I was like, "Yes, please." So, but it's nice to have one of the original presses of a book. I love books.
I don't think there's been a more Alan Partridge moment that you've ever done than that bit.
Well, yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was polite, wasn't it?
That was very polite. Go on then, Neil, you're number 6.
So another very early night, I'm showing my generation of when I was in my 20s, wasn't I? Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater. It's a movie where he plays an aspiring illegal secret DJ called Happy Harry Hardon. He is.
That's not his name.
It is.
Happy Harry Hardon.
That's his DJ name.
That's not his name.
It is. Have you watched this movie?
I've never watched this movie.
Right. Well, you'd understand why.
Happy Harry Hardon is his name.
No, it's the DJ name he goes under. It's not his character's name. It's the DJ's name. And it's very rude. I mean, he's pretending to masturbate on air and all sorts.
Oh my!
But it deals with a lot of. It's Christian Slater when he's really cool. When he was very cool, he's just about to go into True Romance and do all of that. Mm-hmm. And he plays this high school nerd. He's very quiet, doesn't socialize very much. He's the illegal DJ at night, and everybody loves him and all wants to know what it is. And then a suicide. I don't want to say too much. A suicide happens, which could bring everything down. But I highly recommend it. But it's full of just great music. So you got. Again, eclectic. You've got the Pixies with Ice-T, with Semisonic, with all sorts of people mixed in. And I just love the soundtrack. I still listen to a lot of the songs now. They are on my playlist. And it's always refreshing to get a bit of Leonard Cohen in a movie to me. And they add it in there. So.
Well, I mean, there also have to be suicide in it if Leonard Cohen's got a song in it, then hasn't
it? Yeah, you always knock people I love. Leonard Cohen's great.
I'm not saying that. You know how I feel about Leonard Cohen.
Yeah.
And I respect your feelings on Leonard Cohen. They're two completely different views on Leonard Cohen.
Are you a fan of Leonard Cohen?
I can't say I've listened to much of his stuff, but my dad's a big fan. He really raves about him. He's like one of his favourite artists. So yeah, I guess he's probably on your level with that. Neil.
Yeah, I find it very a song for every occasion for me. And they're all sad.
All sad. Okay, my number 6, one of the most successful soundtracks I think ever released. We had a little bit of that, but we'll go with this one. Saturday Night Fever. I can remember. I don't even know if I've seen the movie all the way through. I don't think I have. But this was a soundtrack that, along with Chic and the Eagles, was on constantly in my home when I was small, like on a Sunday morning. They were the 3 albums that they would play, my mum and dad, when they were getting like Sunday lunch ready, doing like the cleaning of the house. And it was like banger after banger after banger on that album. It was like every single song was, and not just the ones the Bee Gees did, but it's just a fantastic album from start to finish. It's a great slice of the 70s and disco, and the fact that the Bee Gees sort of did a complete change of their whole sound and then started a whole new career, if you like, and whether it was the birth of disco. No, disco would have been around before that, wouldn't they? I would have thought. But I think it brought disco, the whole movie with John Travolta brought the whole disco genre to the fore, didn't it? With, you know, just the way that John Travolta looked and danced and the music. Maybe I need to watch the film all the way through. Maybe
I would, because it really
fits.
Really, I would. But make sure you watch the right version, because there's 2 versions.
Is there?
Saturday Night Fever. You've got the 18 version, or was an 18, it'll probably be a 15 now, with all the swearing and the nudity. And then you've got the PG version with everything taken out, and they could put it on a Saturday afternoon.
Oh, we don't want to see that.
Yeah, but
that's boring.
It starts straight away. You remember John Travolta carrying the paint pots down the street in his flares, and he's strutting his stuff right into the house.
Is that? Oh, right. I always thought so the iconic, that word again, the iconic shot of John Travolta's shoulders, and he's looking like really cool down the street. He's carrying paint pots, is he?
Paint tins, yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, that's just ruined the whole. Look at that then for me.
But I mean, he obviously walks again, but it opens at the beginning. They've used that shot loads, and he's looking at the ladies. But if you know, he's carrying 2 tins of
no, he's not.
He is. I've seen this movie.
This is a whole Harry Hard-On thing again, isn't it?
No.
Tell me that one of the most iconic and cool scenes of John Travolta walking down the street to fucking Saturday Night Fever,
but it's still
and he's
cool.
Carrying paint pots.
It's from work. It's the opening credits.
The camera work, I presume.
Yeah.
But I don't actually remember that myself, to be honest. But it's been a while since I've seen it. But obviously, I think I'm just more thinking, obviously, with his close up on the feet, walking down, and then getting like, you know, hey, how are you doing, type of thing.
Well, that's the thing, Paul. It's like there's a shot of his head and shoulders. He's looking cool. Then there's a shot of his feet.
Now you know why.
And they're missing out the fact that he's got 2 tins of Crown paint in his hands.
Yeah, well, that's where he worked, didn't he, in the hardware store.
No, you're taking the piss out of me now. That is ridiculous.
No, I'm genuinely not. Do you not even remember the bit when he stood in his Y-fronts in front of the mirror and he Al Pacino, because somebody said he looked like him and all of that.
But where's the paint got to come in with that?
But he worked for a hardware store. He was not I'm going to
have to watch it now.
He's just an everyday Joe, isn't he?
I feel like you've completely shattered my whole illusion.
No, you'll love it when you see it. I mean, it is dated badly.
Carrying paint pots. I'll put it in the video playlist if that is the case. You see a shot of him carrying paint pots. Is that what you're telling me? I'm
sure it's paint
ridiculous.
Pots,
I'm sorry, that just is ridiculous.
Oh, Pav.
That's
the only reason I watched it a lot. I was the same. My mum and dad had the vinyl with the gatefold sleeve with all the disco stuff, and we used to listen to it. And then I suddenly saw years ago, before even the video was around, that it was on a Saturday afternoon, and it was the edited version.
Right.
And I said, okay, that was good. And then it was in my mum and dad's shop, and I said, why is this an X when I've just watched it? And my mum said, I don't know. I'd take it and watch it again if it was on the.
That is crazy.
Little did I know, and we were allowed to keep the video, which we did. And I used to watch it loads when I was younger.
Okay, I'll take your word for it, Neil, because I trust you as a fellow human being. But that has shocked me to my core.
Yeah.
Anyway, Paul, you're number 5, please. Quick, let's move on.
Yeah. I'll just say that before I do, that Saturday Night Fever was in like probably like honorable mentions, really, because it was like, oh, it's really good, but I think there's other ones that are.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah,
it was definitely mine.
Yeah, so my number 5, that was tough to pick out, well, because all 3 in the trilogy are great, but the one I have most connection to is The Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have the connection from, I think my mum took me to the cinema to see when I was young. I think it was 2001, I think.
It was, yeah,
when it came out. And I just remember, again, like this whole epic fantasy coming to play out on the screen. It was like, oh, it's a really long film. But I'm enjoying it all the way through. And the score just stood out to me from that. Again, Howard Shore being a great composer. And you got the things like the prologue, obviously the introduction to like the backstory to everything, that's great. And then you got like, it goes into the Shire music and everything, all like that happy, nice, everything. It's like, I really like that to listen to, and just as it is. And but then you got those really epic moments, like at the top of was it Weathertop, I think is one of the bits where the ring wraiths come and get the hobbits and everything, and then that's just really just wow, that's so cool, so dramatic and everything. And even the closing song by Enya maybe is I really like as well. I feel like it's very ethereal and fits the vibe of the film. It has and everything. So just all
my favorite one of the trilogy. But the music is so fitting for the fantasy, isn't it? It sounds like it was from then. Does that
exactly?
Make sense?
No, I get what you mean. It just fits so well with everything, all elements and everything. Just like epic journey and everything. I'm all for that kind of thing in terms of like video games as well. That kind of fits into that with like Elden Ring and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Great one.
No,
it's that Celtic feel as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
That I think goes along with the whole fantasy side of it, and swords and elves and.
But it's become a piece of music, like so many, like a lot of others, where as soon as you hear it, you think, "Oh, I know exactly what that's from."
Yeah,
it's become embedded, isn't it?
It'll be interesting to see with a new TV show whether the music will stand up to that, because that's.
Well, you want to hope so with the amount of bloody money they've spent on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's Amazon. See, Amazon, they've got money to burn, so you know. But I think that is intrigued, considering that they're sort of showing it so close to the start of the new like Game of Thrones prequel show as well.
I think they're doing it on purpose.
But that's a lot of new names and places and names of places to have to try and remember who they are and where they are, and I find that sort of very confusing. I know I'm very dumb, but it is like, my name's Elveron from Dinkathon, and I'm going to Pigabong to see Dovadon, and you just think, oh my god, it's just too much. Just kill the man, for God's sake.
It sounds intriguing.
Come on, Amazon, I'm available.
Yeah,
$1 billion, and I'll
do it for half that, eh?
I'll do it half that. 15 episodes for a series.
Well, let's hope it is as strong as they said. So at the time of recording, it hasn't been released, if you're listening to this. That's right. And at the time of recording, it's the most expensive TV series ever, isn't it?
It is. It is. Let's wait and see. Go on then, Neil. Your number 5, please.
So this has now become a musical on the West End. I've not seen the musical, but Moulin Rouge.
Moulin Rouge.
It's the way they incorporate so many famous songs into obviously a burlesque show. Is that what we're going to call it? I love this soundtrack to this day. I love the medleys they did. The Elephant medley is superb. Ewan McGregor sings so great. We've spoken about it time and time again on this podcast, but it's still a musical soundtrack that just is great. Obviously, you've got original songs, reimagining of songs. I love the Jim Broadbent. I've grown to love it. I didn't used to like it when I first watched it. The Jim Broadbent Like a Virgin, I find hilarious now, and it's really good. Really, really well done. I love the movie. Pav scared me from going to sit on the West End after what his daughter said. So,
I mean, look, you might enjoy it.
I might.
They obviously went in there thinking it was going to be something else, but they've changed it and added different songs. That they
Yeah,
weren't really
I will go and
expecting.
see it, but not while it's 100 quid a ticket now.
That's ridiculous.
It is.
Stick the movie on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ewan McGregor's fantastic in that movie, and got a great singing voice as well.
I would love to have seen him in Guys and Dolls, which he did, didn't he, in the early 2000s or what, mid 2000s. Apparently, he was phenomenal in that. Who knew?
Yeah, Paul.
I've only seen the film once, unfortunately. So I think there was a time where I wasn't really too into musicals, but I've kind of grown more and more to like them now. So I think it's probably very much due a rewatch, really, for that. Yeah, but I do remember the visually very pleasing film. So the soundtrack I'm a bit less familiar with, but yeah.
Baz Luhrmann, wasn't it? He's definitely got his own. He's got his own kind of style.
Well, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. But great movie, Paul. I would highly recommend watching it again. Just immerse yourself because it is one of those.
Yeah. Okay, my number 5. I think this movie I've probably mentioned more than any other in the whole of the episode 56 of all the other 55 episodes, even ones that have got nothing to do with music or movies. I will talk about this movie. I had to put this as a soundtrack. It's The Greatest Showman. So many times I've talked about The Greatest Showman. There isn't a single, and they're all like original songs. There isn't any songs on there that they've reworked or anything. And every single song on this soundtrack makes me cry like a wuss. Every single one. I don't know why. I still don't know why to this day. And they are just perfect pieces of pop music. Work fantastically well in the movie. And there are so many people in this movie that are just like talented on every level, whether it's singing, dancing, acting, looking great. Zendaya, Zac Efron, Hugh Jackman, they've all got, do you know what I mean? They were at the top of the talent tree and they hit every branch on the way down. There isn't really much more I can say about The Greatest Showman. So, Paul, have you have you watched it? Have you enjoyed it? Has it jumped into your heart as much as it jumped into mine?
Can't say that it has. I haven't seen it, but it's so strange because I've heard a lot of bad things about it. So it's kind of,
in what way?
I don't know, that people say it was really boring, or the songs were rubbish, or they just did what a waste of time that was. I don't know. It's just a bit of a, so that's kind of put me off seeing it, honestly, because it's like, but it's very odd for somebody to like say like it's fantastic. It's like one of the favorite things. It really sort of intrigues me now, because it's like, okay, well, maybe there's something. I'll give it a chance at some point. Yeah, absolutely. Based on your recommendation of it. Because
one thing, you don't take it as a historical document on the life of P.T. Barnum, because from what I've heard, P.T. Barnum was a bit of a shit. Okay. You know, he wasn't the nicest of people to his if you want to call them employees. You know, so take it that it's not like, oh, this happened and this happened for real, because obviously Hugh Jackman is the star and they want him to be this lovable rogue, if you like.
Sure.
But as a piece of entertainment, as a musical, personally, the first time I watched it, I've said it before on him, I watched it with my arms folded, and my wife, when we came out of the cinema, said, "You didn't like that, did you?" And I said to her, I fucking loved it. I said, I haven't stopped crying for the last hour and a half. And I bought the soundtrack. I watched it again and again. I think we watched it like 3 or 4 times at the cinema, and I cried every single time. And I still, to this day, what year did it come out? Was it 2017, 2016, something like that?
Yeah.
I still watch it now and it brings a lump to my throat, and I don't know why. Because it is not the greatest acted. It's not the most original of movies, but there's some gold dust that they've sprinkled on it for some reason, and I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. You might watch it and go, well, that was terrible. I'm never going to talk to Pav again because he's wasted like an hour and a half of my life. But Neil, you love it, don't you?
I like it. I I'm not as big a fan as you. I don't mind it. I've only seen it a couple of times. That sounds really weird, doesn't it? But film geeks all know the same. You always see a film on once. Yeah. The songs are really. There's some songs I find more catchier than others.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. Yeah,
but yeah, I don't mind it at all. It's what I call, and this isn't disrespectful, but it's a Sunday afternoon movie.
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
It's not going to win any Oscars for greatest like performances or anything like that, but it is a perfect movie to put on a Sunday afternoon and just chill and get lost for an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it is.
Yeah, and it was also well known for the critics absolutely hating it, but yet it made a shit ton of money.
It did.
It did really well at the cinema. The public love it. They obviously did, didn't they?
Yeah.
And the critics were wrong that time.
But I can remember with the first week, I think it only took something like, it didn't take much in the box office on the first weekend, and everyone was going, it's a bomb. This is going to bomb. And then it stayed in the charts and the cinemas for like weeks and weeks and weeks.
It did. People
kept going back, and like I was one of them, just kept going back.
Maybe that's why a part of the course as well, like, if people were like, there's critics slating it as well. It's like, is that worth really watching? Because I know, like, with either two ways, kind of, the critics rave about it, and you watch the film and go, what did I just watch? And sometimes it's the other way around, and it's like it's the audience that's speaking to what's good and what isn't against the critics. So
yeah,
I agree.
But I'd watch it, definitely. It's worth a watch, and at least you can have your own say on it then, can't you? Do you agree with the critics, or do you agree with Pav?
Exactly.
But, yeah,
I shall wait for the strongly worded email that we get from you. Anyway, your number 4 then, please, Paul.
Okay. This is the other animated film soundtrack, and it is How to Train Your Dragon.
Big fan of these movies.
By John Powell. Coming when I think it was around during university, I believe. I think it was third year of uni, and like finished animation course, and I've been reminded, like, this is why I want to do like animation stuff. I'm a big fan of like monsters and dragons anyway, so a film that's kind of centered around that, and it's the way that they're designed, everything is fantastic. And then one of the standout bits of the soundtrack for me, there's great ones like the opening, This Is Burke, and Dragon Training, and Astrid Goes for a Spin, which leads into like a romantic flight piece as well, so kind of merge those two together, and that's all so ethereal and fantastic. But one thing that stands out for me in particular, there's a track at the back end, it's called Coming Back Around, where I remember where I think in my parents' car, we were in a trip in Scotland. I had the earphones in and I had on the iPod. This is how long ago this was. And we were going over, I felt the bridges in Edinburgh. It's like the really long one, but I was just looking out over the sea, and I felt like I was actually out there, like flying on a dragon. It felt so good, and it gave me goosebumps just listening to that track back. And that's why it's like so high up on the list. All the tracks in that, it just takes me back to the childhood, really. Yeah.
Well, it's a great movie. It's a great soundtrack. They're all three of them, I think, are great movies. They really are. They deal with issues for kids that a lot of cartoons shy away from, and it's good to see. Yeah. You know, I just think the animation is brilliant. The story's brilliant. They're right up there with, I think, some of the finest animated movies.
Yeah, I've rewatched them recently as well, and they still stand up. But the first one is my favorite. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, it is the best. But it's that growing relationship that's so beautiful between the two of them. Yeah, have you seen them?
Never seen them, mate. Never seen any of them.
Well, there's your homework then. You've given
recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's
at least the first one I would recommend. Are you big into animated films, Pav?
Yeah, I love animated films. I love animated films. I don't know why this is like, I've missed it. I don't know why they dropped off my radar. But there's been 3 of them, has there?
There has.
I mean, there's been like they're not Netflix shows as well, I think.
Right.
Yeah, they did some shorts, didn't they, on Netflix and that, but they're mainly for kids.
Right.
Those ones are more.
Yeah. The 3 movies. I mean, Gerard Butler, does the voice of the father, and I think they're great. I just think they're such good movies. I mean, I think the third one is the weakest of the trilogy, but that when I say the weakest, that doesn't mean it's bad in any stretch.
No.
I will give them a go.
You really need to, because remember years ago we had the radio show.
Yeah,
I made Loz watch them, and she fell in love with them.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. I will. That's my homework.
Yeah.
I will put it on my list. Go on then, Neil. You're number 4.
So Ewan McGregor, I've spoken about him once. I'm going to speak about him again. Trainspotting again. Another 90s movie. Again, a soundtrack that I play to death. But this has got some of my favorite artists in. You got your Iggy Pop. You got Lou Reed. I prefer Blondie, but you had Sleeper doing the Blondie track. I think, again, I mean, that opening shot of Ewan McGregor running down the street to Lust for Life with Iggy Pop is just iconic. Again, I'm going to use it because it is. I love this movie. Again, I think it's a perfect movie, Pab. I really do. But the soundtrack is just of its time. It's a time when I was, I was around the same age as the characters that were in it at the time. I got rid of my heroin addiction before that came out. I was not into heroin at all. I was into Ket. I just found it fascinating. And I hadn't been one of the people that had picked up on the book. I read the book after the movie. Maybe that's why I found it easier to read, because I sort of understood what, because they used the dialogue so well in the movie compared to that. But each song fits the scene so perfectly well. The Perfect Day, I still think, is most beautiful in that film when he's sinking. He's obviously OD'd. Mm-hmm. I mean, BBC nearly ruined it with that all-star fuck up that they did for charity.
Yes, Children in Need, wasn't it?
Just awful. But it's a beautiful song that, with a great moment. Oh yeah, I just love it. Well, I don't know what you guys think of this movie. Maybe I'm banging the wrong drum.
No, I really, it's very gritty and grimy and everything, but it reflects that you're kind of there with them in that thing with all the drugs that they're doing and everything.
Yeah,
you kind of feel with the music reflects as well. I like the is it Underworld?
That's it, Born Slippy, when they're walking away on the
song from that. Yeah,
it
feels
great.
Like that fits in perfectly. Yeah, it seems like that trippy out music. Yeah. I love it.
Never seen it. I'm only joking. No, of course I have. Of course I have.
Well, I would have been on me bike round there straight away.
It's one of those movies that's got everything, got absolutely everything. There's some amazing funny bits in it, but like the baby on the ceiling, stuff like that. There's so many harrowing moments.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed.
Sorry?
I really enjoyed Trainspotting too as well.
And me. I think it's perfectly. I mean, I would have preferred it if they'd have done it a bit closer to the sequel of the book.
Yeah, but I think I kind of remember seeing Trainspotting 2 and not being like, it's a bit late to be doing this now as a sequel. And it's like, I know it's supposed to be like maybe like a good while after, like what they're doing now, but I didn't quite. I think I need to revisit that one because it wasn't too.
I would highly recommend watching it again. It's great watching them back to back because then you realise that the time gap is perfect, but obviously to allow Begbie to get out of jail.
Yeah. Okay.
And it all fits. I think it would have worked better, like I said, if they'd have been brave enough and gone for the story that the book was, because obviously it was called Porno, wasn't it? And it was more about Sick Boy and how he run up
Rent Boy.
Do you remember that?
I remember
Renton and Sick Boy put together in one character and became Rent Boy. Yeah, that did. But yeah, he becomes a porn, mogul, and they all come back to stay with him. But it was nice that all the cast got back together, even Diane in a very small role, but she was there, and nonetheless, it was. It's grown on me.
Yeah, really good. Really enjoyed that. Okay, my number 4. I mean, every single song on this soundtrack is the I word. So it's the Blues Brothers. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's one of the coolest movies of all time. But every single song, again, on the soundtrack, it's all great soul stuff. But it fits well in the context of the song, of the movie. Even if they do have like proper musical moments where you have like an entire block just starting to do the twist with Ray Charles and stuff like that. It's just a fantastic song, fantastic movie, fantastic cast, and not much more you can really say about it. I think it's iconic in itself as a movie.
Absolutely,
It was in my top 10, but I just thought it's gonna have to. It needed to be a top 20 again. But it is. Every song is just superb. John Belushi is so good. What a great entertainer, isn't he?
Yeah, and I always forget that Carrie Fisher was in it. That was the one thing I always forget that she was in it.
Yeah, she was. Wasn't she dating? I can't remember now. Was it Dan Aykroyd? She had a thing with.
She may well have done, but she always famously said that she preferred kissing John Belushi to Harrison Ford. She did. So, Paul.
Yeah, no, I can't fault you for picking that one because it's such a good soundtrack. I like my soul music, and like one of my favorite scenes, obviously, when Aretha Franklin does the Think, in the cafe, and that's like one of my favorite songs anyway. So that sounds like we covered this a while back. Me and Sophie did, and she really seemed to enjoy the film, and she couldn't fault the music in that as well. And again, it's iconic, just like with everything that goes on in that film. And just all fits really well. Yes, it's fun. It's so good.
Yeah, 4 fried chickens and a Coke.
Yes.
I always want to have that for my tea.
And one question: have you seen it recently?
About 2 or 3 months ago.
Where in that movie is "See You Next Wednesday"? Because I can't remember for the life of me where it was on that one.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's in the mall.
Right.
It's when there's the car chase. I'm pretty sure there is a poster on a wall, like in a card shop or something, that says "See you next Wednesday." Okay. I may be wrong, and I'm sure someone will email us in if I am wrong. But I'm pretty sure that's where it is. Like a car smashes through a front window, and you see a poster that says "See you next Wednesday" on it.
Okay, I'm sure it is, but I just can't remember where it was in that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Okay, Paul, you're number 3, please.
Number 3, I've got another thing for show and tell.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so it is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yes.
Well, I think that's probably one of the ones that really stands out. A bit like the Guardians, the Galaxy soundtrack. It's like just one of those things that, although there's a lot of like techno stuff incorporated into this, like the 8-bit soundtrack to it, but the band itself, the infamous Sex Bomb, that opening track's like, wow, this just hits you right there with the theme of obviously a band trying to be successful and everything, and just give that punk vibe and everything. And again, the other tracks in the film kind of reflect that as well, and kind of like that indie vibey mellow thing. So it kind of did actually, when the film came out, I was like, I want to play bass. That kind of inspired me to do that, but I didn't get very far, truth be told. But I kind of tried to do the I think Threshold is like one of the things that the Sex Bomb band play, but I couldn't do the chords. I just didn't have the time and patience to do it. But it still inspired me to get involved with the music, and it's still stuck with me to this day. So just so many good tracks, and like was it Getting Boring by the Sea, Blood Red Shoes, and things like that just kind of interspersed through the film. And Edgar Wright did a good job in picking the soundtrack to fit the movie. Yeah,
he did, certainly did.
He is another one that, I mean, I suppose he followed in Tarantino's shoes a little bit in regards to how he uses music in his movies, but the music is integral to the whole Scott Pilgrim, just the whole, like,
it is
the game.
And he did it again, didn't he, with Baby Driver?
Purposely like timing it to the movements and everything. Yeah
That's a good
choice.
I'm surprised that's not in yours, Neil. I must admit.
What, Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it's number 1. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Oh, no
I'm not
silence there. Okay, go on then, Neil. You're number 3.
So it's the first ever soundtrack that I ever owned as a child. Me and my brother had a copy of it. It's splattered all behind, Pav. It's Star Wars. I had to, because having owned it, we talk about iconic. I think this and Jaws are probably the most iconic pieces of film music. You know exactly what it is. You know exactly what's going to happen. You wait for the crawl whenever you hear it.
Yeah.
And all of it, it's just a joy. And I gave you the special editions for your birthday one year, didn't I? Do you remember those CDs with all sorts of great CDs? If you ever get a chance, they have every piece of music, everything all on there. But I just think this is. I mean, what else can we say about this music? I'm sure Pav will have something to say eventually.
Yeah,
but
I'm going to keep my powder dry on this one just for a few minutes.
But there's not a lot really you can add to it. The music itself speaks volumes, doesn't it? And this
It really does, yeah.
It really does. So
yeah, I think there's piece of me I like the is it Holst the planets. I think it, like if you listen to that music, it's very much inspired, obviously John Williams and the whole theme of like you put them side by side. I think there's a video somewhere on that where it's like playing that piece of music over the top when the fleet comes in at the beginning of the first film, and that's like, oh wow, this is so heavily inspired, and it's just like I say, it's iconic just how well it's stuck into pop culture, and you just hear those few bits from the crawl or any other bits, and you know it's Star Wars from that.
Straight away.
Yeah,
indeed.
What's your number 3, Pav?
My number 3 is I think is my only animated one. And it's The Lion King.
Okay.
Elton John and Tim Rice, I think, wasn't it? But again, when you talk about like we had a quid for every time we said iconic in this episode. We had to retire. It's one of those things where it's the start. Oh, not that, but not that version. I know what you mean. Yeah. But the it's the whole start of the certain aspect we want. This one, just the whole. I mean, Arsene Wenger managed to get his name in a Disney film. Fair play to him.
I always remember the advert with that little bit of Pumbaa and what's his name?
Timon.
When there's Timon.
What's on the menu?
Yeah, that advert always made me laugh.
Yeah, but there's great songs on it, and it's not just the songs. The actual the Pride rock music at the end, is absolutely fantastic, and even more so if you go and see the live show because it's that you can feel the beats hitting you in the chest.
That's something I definitely want to go see. Have you guys seen the live?
Yeah, I've seen it like 2 or 3 times.
You really do need to try and catch it. It's so good. They nearly ruined it, didn't they, with the live action version, the music in that.
Yeah, there's no point.
Let's not talk about that.
No.
Let's pretend it doesn't exist. There you go. Let's wipe it.
I would recommend, Paul, if you do get a chance to go, get seats right now. The seats that are on the floor, what are they called, Neil?
Stalls.
The stalls. And try and get an aisle seat.
Yeah.
Because there is nothing better that like when the animals start coming in, all of a sudden you look around and you see this massive elephant walking down and you think, why the fucking hell are they doing that? And the first time we went and saw it, something like brushed my shoulder and I looked and it was a giraffe and I thought, oh my Christ, what the hell's going on? It is magical. Absolutely. The way they do Timon is fantastic. It is well worth it. Well worth money to go and see that. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's on bucket list,
Wonderful. And it's Oscar-winning music, of course.
Oscar-winning, indeed. So, Paul, your number 2, please.
Number 2, right, before Lord of the Rings, this was another fantasy film that I really connected with my mum. She introduced me to this on a VHS tape, and I think this is like one of the best like fantasy films ever, and it is Dark Crystal.
Oh, okay.
Got this very special vinyl one that I managed to get for it. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but probably more than I should have. But it's a bit like a collector's piece for me. I love the film so much that I kind of had to get it, and a bit like with the Lord of the Rings, it's kind of got that just the tone of where the world is set and everything, and got your scary moments, your beautiful moments, and I don't know how else to describe how much it means to me, really. Just when I'm thinking back to like those moments when I was like a wee lad and everything, and just like, wow, this is amazing. And seeing the film as I've grown older, like want to know more about the lore behind the film and things like that. It's just one thing that's really stuck with me, and so was the soundtrack and everything with that. I know they did the Netflix series with the developing the lore, but I know that's not going to have another season, I don't think, which is kind of sad really, because the music in that is also really good and everything, but I think it's just down to budgetary reasons for them. I don't ever see the light of day anymore, so it's kind of
who did the soundtrack for The Dark Crystal?
It is Trevor Jones. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Yeah. I think I don't know if he did. I think he did the soundtrack for Labyrinth as well, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, right. It must be rare because it's not. I can't find it on Apple Music.
No, I tried. I did look on Spotify, and it's not on the. It's grayed out on the listing, so it's like one of those obscure ones. You may have to find it on YouTube, I think, to find the actual thing. But I do recommend it if you do like your fantasy element music and stuff like that. Yes, really.
So, Paul, if you could please sing the first track of the album, just so that we can get an idea of what it sounds like, that'd be wonderful. Only joking, you haven't got to do that. Neil, your number 2, please.
So this is another sci-fi movie, and it was a real toss-up between number 3 and number 2, which way to put them around. But I put this one at number 2 because I still do listen to this more in my headphones than the other one, and it's Blade Runner, Vangelis. I just think it's beautiful, haunting, just all of it. I use it it sounds awful, but when I really love a piece of music, I usually put it in my ears to go to sleep to. It relaxes me to go to sleep to, and this is a real sort of I don't know. It's on my turntable a lot, as they would say. I can't pick out highlights. I just love it all from start to finish. I'm a huge fan of the movie anyway, but the music just gave it that extra dimension, didn't it? And yeah, it's just beautiful. I know you're a fan of this music, pal. So
I do. I love everything about Blade Runner, and I like every single version of the movie. I think it's an absolute masterpiece from top to bottom. Yeah. Paul?
Yeah, no, can't say anything bad about it because it's fantastic. I rewatched it not too long ago, and it's still mind blowing how effects and everything about the film, and again, the score is very powerful, and everything. And it's I can understand why it's on the list because it's just mind blowing.
But again, I've used the term, but it's another one that just lingers for ages after you heard it. It sort of creeps under your skin and stays there. Yeah, it's a beautiful piece of music. Vangelis, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Only criticism of Blade Runner is it was set in 2019. Where's the bloody flying cars? Come on.
That's true.
I'll take it raining all the time if we could have flying cars.
I just want a replicant of my own.
I bet you do, Neil.
Well, no, I can say
you do. That looks like Daryl Hannah. I bet.
Well, that'll do. But I was going to say of me, and then I can send him off to work, and I can reap the rewards.
Okay.
I was thinking it of being a lazy bastard more than a sexual thing. But
okay, my number 2, one of the greatest movies ever made, and one of the greatest musicals ever made. And I did play it in the little drops at the start. But Grease. As we record this, Olivia Newton-John passed away a couple of weeks ago. I was really, really bummed by that. She, apart from Carrie Fisher, were my 2 first ever crushes. Was Olivia Newton-John and Carrie Fisher. And it was strange because a friend through the podcast, her husband passed away the day before, so it was a real 1-2 punch. And I felt really, again, when Carrie Fisher died, I was surprised how sad I felt. Same when I heard that Olivia Newton-John had passed away. I'd never met her, we'd never shared any air together. But the fact that she was the first person that made me feel, why have I got these strange feelings for that person? I've never had these feelings before, these sort of rumblings and these weird pangs of something I don't quite understand. And all the way through, I mean, if anyone, I know we haven't spoken about Xanadu, but if anyone's seen the video of Xanadu, She is absolutely beautiful in that video. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Well, she always was, wasn't she?
She is.
Was
She
just
was-
one of the most perfect women, I think.
but with an amazing voice, a voice of an angel, and absolutely beautiful.
And apparently one of the nicest people you could ever meet.
Yeah.
They said so.
But there are also amazing songs. There's a lot of songs on the album that are like very in the forefront of the stage show that didn't really. That I think maybe they might be in the background of certain scenes in the movie, but they're really good as well. What was the one song that I really remember loving? But I don't think it's. I don't think Those Magic Changes by Shanna Na, which is actually like that is playing in the background, but on the stage show it's like a real like forefront song. Just a great soundtrack. And Grease, the theme tune written by Barry Gibb, again of the Bee Gees. And that's my number 2. Okay,
Great
before
choice.
we reveal our number 1s, Paul, do you want to just give us a rundown of your number 10 to number 2? Then Neil will do the same.
Okay. So my number 10 is The Shining. Number 9, The Dark Knight. Number 8, Little Shop of Horrors. Number 7, My Neighbor Totoro. Number 6, A Clockwork Orange. Number 5, Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Number 4, How to Train Your Dragon. Number 3, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And number 2, The Dark Crystal.
Wonderful. Neil, your 10 to 2, please.
Okay, here we go. At number 10, Once Upon a Time in America. Number 9, Pulp Fiction. Number 8, Empire Records. Number 7, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Number 6, Pump Up the Volume. Number 5, Moulin Rouge. Number 4, Train Spotting. Number 3, Star Wars. And number 2, Blade Runner.
Wonderful. And mine is number 10. It's Good Morning Vietnam. I've always wanted to do that. Number 9, Forrest Gump. 8, Field of Dreams. 7, I cheated a little bit, but Guardians of the Galaxy Volumes 1 and 2. 6, Saturday Night Fever. 5, The Greatest Showman. 4, The Blues Brothers. 3, The Lion King. And 2 is Grease. So, Paul, what is your number 1 movie soundtrack / score?
Okay. Well, it's something from my childhood and is tied as like my number 1 film of all time with The Shining, and that is
Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park.
Talking about Alan Partridge.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, great music. John Williams again.
Yeah, and like I say, very impressionable from seeing it as a young child. Loved dinosaurs, as for most young boys will have done at that age when it came out. Didn't see it at the cinema, sadly. I think mum and dad got it on VHS or whatever. But I've grown more as I've grown older. Obviously, there's always dinosaurs at the beginning. That's what drew me into it. But then there's so much more as you're going through, like the more adult themes as you're going through, and so did the music. The music grows with you as well, and even not even just the aspect of wow, these are real dinosaurs. But obviously that's what drew me at the very beginning. But the certain like all the most of the obviously the main theme that gives me the chills every single time. That makes me tear up, like hearing it, especially with headphones in or whatever, and just playing it. It just gets me in the feels. I have such a strong connection with the film from a young age, and still do, and I think it will always be one of like my favorite films of all time. And so the soundtrack reflects that as well.
Perfect.
Look at that. The crescendo went
Yeah. Right on cue. Yeah.
That was fantastic.
You
Did you
worked
do
that
that
one
on
out.
purpose? That was amazing. What a
Wow.
moment. What a podcast moment that was perfect.
That was Paul. Have you seen Swiss Army Man?
Not yet. No, I
Okay.
do want to see that. Yeah.
Well, you'll hear the Jurassic Park theme in there.
Well, yeah, that is a fantastic one. That is great. I mean, again, have we missed a trick? We could easily do top 10 John Williams
Oh, couldn't
scores,
you? Easily.
couldn't we? And maybe I think that's
Easily.
one that we need to do.
Mhm.
He's another guy that I think when he passes away, I'm going to be
Yeah, definitely.
shattered.
Yeah.
Because his music is the soundtrack of my life, I think. But go on then, Neil, you're number 1.
So I sort of alluded to it earlier on. It's Reservoir Dogs. To me, this was the start of any sort of soundtrack that you would get properly, where he would use pre-recorded songs throughout the decades and use them throughout the movie. The opening thing with George Baker's selection with Little Green Bag, we've talked about that, becoming iconic, but I still love the track. Steelers Wheel, Stuck in the Middle with You. We had that Ooga Chooka. That's where I still think of it from, rather than
feeling,
yeah. I still think of it from there. You have the Harry Nilsson, Lime in the Coconut, which has been used again in other things. I just think it's great. And then all throughout, interspersed with Steve Wright, not Radio 2 Steve Wright, alas, but the American DJ Steve Wright.
That would be great if it was, though, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Hey?
He's completely different, I think. Yeah.
Oh my God, that'd be fantastic. They should do a British version and have that Steve Wright.
Yeah, they should. Who is leaving Radio 2? I just think, his monotone, dulcet tones between is a perfect fit. And I listen to this at a CD. Well, I don't listen to it on CD now. I send to stream. I listen to it a lot still, this soundtrack. I think every song is great in it. And it's just the perfect. And like I say, and I'll stand by it, it was the start of the, all these other directors now doing it every now and then. We all take it for granted, but Tarantino was the man who brought it into the forefront again with this movie.
Completely agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it was the start of something. I think that was the thing, wasn't it? Not just Tarantino's style, but the way he used the music.
Exactly.
A trendsetter in many ways, I feel.
I mean, he carried it on, didn't he? I mean, through Django into Hateful Eight, all the way through, you get the music. I mean, Django's bizarre because you're set in the Western times, and all of a sudden you get a rap song going, and you think, but it works. It perfectly works.
He makes it work. Yeah, very good. My number one is no surprise, but is it the most iconic for one chord ever?
Yes, probably.
Is it this chord? Oh, I'm trying. There you go. I can't do it the way that Paul did it. I mean, that one chord.
I think it is.
I think it's the most iconic chord of all ever, whether it's TV, video, music, movies.
It becomes ingrained into
it's
everybody.
In my DNA.
Yeah.
That's it. It's in my DNA. There's nothing I can remember when The Force Awakens came out. And I can remember, I saw it 13 times at the cinema, for Force Awakens, because it was like, you never thought there was going to be an episode 7. And I love The Force Awakens. I think it's a great film. Obviously, they just lost, they lost their way. They didn't have a plan. But that moment between A Long Time Ago in a Galaxy Far Away, and then you have that small little bit of silence, then that chord. I was in tears every time, and I've watched. I would hate to think how many hours I've spent in my life watching some kind of Star Wars product. I don't know how long. But the other thing is John Williams has this knack of just making, and I'm going to use the word for the last time, iconic soundtracks and things that they're different. I think, but they're different, but you can tell that they're John Williams. Like, you can tell that Harry Potter is a John Williams theme. You can tell that Jurassic Park is a John Williams theme. You can tell Jaws. There are certain little motifs. Indiana Jones, there are bits in Indiana Jones that seem to be borrowed straight from the Imperial March.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are bits that you must borrow from certain bits. But we definitely need to do a top 10 John Williams soundtracks or themes, if you like, because there are 4 or 5 iconic bits. Oh shit, I used the word again. Just in A New Hope that are pop culture behemoths. Little slices of music that you think, oh my God, that has been used so many times in, I was going to say Father Ted, but probably not Father Ted. I meant like The Simpsons and Family Guy and things like that. Father Ted. Can you imagine that? Arse. But yeah, that's my number one.
That's tickled me.
Oh, Father Ted. Right, we do have some honourable mentions. At FT LOL Podcast says it's an obvious one, but most of John Williams' stuff in Star Wars is on point. Stu Grant said Blues Brothers, The Matrix, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, The Big Lebowski. That's a good one. Fight Club, Shaun of the Dead, and Reservoir Dogs. Our friends over at Just Films and that said The Commitments. I mean, that was a great soundtrack.
That was
a great soundtrack. Chris Wailenga said the Suicide Squad soundtrack has an awesome score. I love the piece at the climax called Ratism. I'm also a big man of Danny Elfman scores. Lisa Buchanan, who's our guest next week, I believe. Pretty in Pink still gets me. Actually, almost all of John Hughes' films. I did have Planes, Trains, and Automobiles on my list for a long time, and then it finally got squeezed out. At Darren_Gaskill said favorite score Near Dark.
Okay, yeah, the Catherine Bigelow film, you know, the vampire one.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. At And Why Not, here we go. This is in depth. He has scores: Star Wars, Tomorrow Never Dies, Batman Returns, Alien 3, Inception, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, of course, Michael Kamen, that one. Mission Impossible, Fallout, and Speed. Avengers Endgame, Thor Ragnarok, The Rocketeer, The Living Daylights, and Social Network. And soundtracks: Footloose, Singles, Transformers the Movie, Moulin Rouge, Beverly Hills Cop, Clerks or Clerks? It's Clerks, isn't it? Clerks. Pulp Fiction, Top Gun, Blues Brothers, High Fidelity, Ghostbusters, Manhunter, Batman, and Trainspotting. And he does put, I know that's more than 10. Thank you for that. At Andy McEwen1 said The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, RoboCop, Rocky IV, and Big Trouble in Little China. Janine Bender said Urban Cowboy. At this one, Samantha said Trainspotting, Top Gun, all of the Rocky soundtracks. Rocky IV is a great soundtrack, especially if you want to work out to. I remember like when I used to do all that working out, you work out to There's No Easy Way Out and stuff like that. Oh my God, it's fantastic. Pirates of the Caribbean, love some orchestral music. Jen Berg, hi Jen. I couldn't possibly pick a favorite, but I have been feeling nostalgic for obvious reasons about the Xanadu soundtrack. I listened to it like crazy when I was little on cassette. I like to picture Olivia and Gene Kelly roller skating in heaven now. Aww. Larry Sala says soundtrack is several: Lost Highway, Reality Bites, Dumb and Dumber, and The Crow. Scores would have to be Legends of the Fall, An Interview with a Vampire. Dan Harper says Good Morning Vietnam. Not only do you get great songs, but you also get Robin Williams as the DJ throughout the album. It's a great, in my opinion. And at Hooked_movies, sorry, let me do that again. At Hooked_on_movies said Pulp Fiction. There you go. So that's it. That's it, ladies.
We never had one cross. Well, we did Star Wars, I suppose.
Star Wars. That was the only one. That was the only one. So, Paul, what have you got coming up on your pod and the next one? Obviously, this will be going out in a couple of weeks' time. But what have you got in the future?
Well, we've got a lead up to mine and Sophie's wedding coming up.
Congratulations!
Yeah, congratulations.
We're kind of we'll have a little break, so I don't know when. Obviously, when this comes out, that might be the point that'll be happening. But we've got a few more episodes lined up as to what we've got in the pipeline. Really, some exciting ones. Like I say, it's ones that I'm trying to pick out. Like what are really good ones, really solid ones that we should have maybe covered by now. And then there's these odd ones where it's like, what would I like to see, and what would she like to sit through as well. So just means as we go on really with stuff, and we really enjoy what we do. And I love showing her new films to there might be a new favorites. So yeah, excellent.
Well, like I say, you've got some homework. I've got some homework as well. So we'll compare notes.
Yeah, I'll be intrigued to see what you both think.
Indeed. Neil, before we go, do you want to tell everybody how they can get in touch? And
of course I can. So you can find us on all the social media sites at Top 10 Pods. That's at Top 10 Pods. Give us a click, give us a like, give us a follow, whatever it is you do on there. Email us at top10pods@hotmail.com. You can send us ideas for lists and all sorts of other questions if you'd like to. Come and help support the podcast at patreon.com/Top 10 Pods, where you get all sorts of rewards like being a guest yourselves. Check out all the links via the Linktree. You can find the link in the show notes. And please do come, subscribe, click, leave a review and a rating on wherever you get your podcast from.
Beautiful. Beautifully done. We will put the link to Paul and Sophie's podcast in the show notes. So please check them out again and give them a rating and review. It's lots of fun. Like I say, I'm going to have another listen to a couple of different episodes. What would you say is the best one to have a listen to? Because I enjoyed the Snatch one. I'm glad I didn't get that sentence wrong, because that was really bad.
I would definitely say that the Matrix one is probably a really funny one, as a standout one. I mean, we've covered so many different ones. It's hard to keep track of ones that are really good. But no, I think you go through the back catalogue. There's probably there's something for everyone really in terms of the films we've covered. So you probably find something like, oh, that's my favourite film. I want to hear what she has to say about that kind of thing. So it's
that's the way to do it.
And stuff.
Just delve in and start from the start. That's the best way to do it. So that's it. So Neil, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pav. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening and watching. And let's go start the countdown.
10, 9.